Hey, how's it going? Mark Linder, broker for the 1-8 Real Estate Group, coming to you live and direct today because I wanted to talk to you about a topic of commissions. And I wanted to talk about this because, first of all of my clients and my customers and people that I interact with, you're going to be very sure to be well informed, and you're going to be receiving a lot of information and knowledge from me. Because to me, knowledge is power. Knowledge is what makes you feel comfortable in a transaction. Knowledge is what makes you feel comfortable in anything in life. So knowledge is something that helps get rid of fear. So I'm going to make sure that if you're working with me as a buyer or a seller, that you receive all of your questions answered and you receive the information and the knowledge that you need to make the best decision for you and your family. So that being said, let's talk about commissions. Because I still think a lot of people, especially if you're not a real estate agent or a broker, you're not out there buying and selling properties every day, or even if you're just the average homeowner and you've only bought 3 or 4 houses in your life, or maybe even a couple in the last 5 years, why would you want to remember the whole process? It's such a stressful thing for most people, right? So let's talk about it. Commissions, okay? First of all, in a real estate transaction, the average standard commission in the state of Texas is going to be 6%. And now a lot of sellers are like, man, I don't want to pay a realtor 6%. That's too much money. I mean, let's talk about it from the standpoint of, let's say, a $250,000 house. So a $250,000 house, you're talking about giving up $15,000 in real estate commissions, right? That's a lot of money, right? And I can understand how a seller feels. Now, first of all, the seller is the one that goes under contract with a listing agent for this agreed amount. And its commissions are negotiable, but I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of commissions. Now, let's just say it's a standard commission, $15,000. Now, that realtor is not going to get all $15,000 of that, because 99 times out of 100, we have what's known as a co-op situation, meaning there are 2 real estate agents involved in a transaction. There's one that represents the buyer, and there's one that represents the seller. So this thing is going to be cut in half, and 3% is going to go to the buyer's agent, and 3% is going to go to the seller's agent, okay? So in reality, your listing agent that's listing your house is going to make $7,500. Now, bear in mind, they're not going to get to keep all that, because they're going to have to give a portion of that to their broker. They're going to have to reimburse themselves for time and money spent on marketing and all of the things, the pictures and the, any kind of internet campaigns that they ran, all of the aggressive marketing that they did, that they spent money on to get your home sold. They're going to have to reimburse all that. So at the end of the day, they're not going to make $7,500, but it's a decent paycheck, okay? But, again, they're working hard, because a realtor, what they're going to do is they're going to handle, first of all the marketing to get someone to your property. Then they're going to have to handle all the paperwork, the negotiations. They're going to have to handle the title companies, the lenders, the appraisers, the inspectors, all of the ins and outs of vendors coming in during that inspection period, checking stuff out, getting bids. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in a transaction that, quite frankly, can become a headache for most sellers if you have, you have kids that got to go to the soccer game. You got to go to the grocery store. You got to go shopping. You got errands to run. Got to get the hair done, the nails done, all this type of stuff. It becomes a burdensome thing to try and sell your own home for some people. Now, some people are gung-ho and they go for it. They can get it done. That's great. But I think a real estate agent, in my opinion, obviously I'm a realtor, deserves at least 3%. I believe that. Now, most buyer's agents, let's talk about this. Buyer's agents are cruising around with buyers, and they're going to get 3%. So when my buyers, I have them sign a buyer representation agreement, and I'm going to get a 3% commission. But the cool thing about working with buyers is I get to work with buyers for free, essentially. Because, again, remember that 6% is coming from the seller, and it's being split up 2 ways. So my buyer is not paying that 3%, right? The seller over here is, right? So that's cool. I get to work with buyers for free. Now, every real estate agent gets to work with buyers for free. And since the buyers, they don't have to pay nothing to have a skilled, licensed, professional, knowledgeable buyer's agent working for their best interest, why wouldn't you have one? And matter of fact, over 90% of your buyers out there are going to have an agent with them. So that's why I say two more things we're going to talk about based on that premise. So if you have what's known as a for sale by owner or a discount broker. A discount broker. So that being said, a discount broker is anyone that lists, in my opinion, for less than 6%. So they might negotiate 5, 4, or even 3%. Or they might negotiate what's known as like a $500 flat fee or $1,000 flat fee or something like that. Anything less than 6%, I'm calling discount. Now you got to ask yourself, if this person listed at 4%, how are we going to break up the commissions now? Because remember, the standard is 6, 3, and 3. So if we have a 4% commission, how are we going to break up that 4% commission now? So we have a 4% commission. So, I mean, I guess the fair thing to do would be go 2 and 2, right? 2 and 2. However, if I'm a buyer and I'm a buyer's agent cruising around and I've got 30 homes to show and I'm trying to pick the best 5 or 10 for my agent, I'm not saying that I do this, but there are a lot of buyer's agents that will do this. That one that's listed for 2% might not get shown, okay? Now, a lot of sellers know this. So they're like, no, listen, you're doing 4%, but you're going to pay that buyer's agent 3% because they want all the buyers showing up. And they're basically telling that listing agent, hey, you're going to work for 1%. So now your $7,500 check just went down to $3,000. No, not even $2,500 in this case, right? Because we're talking about a $250,000 property. So now your commission just went from $7,500 to $2,500. Now, how would you like it if I went to your job and said, hey, instead of making $1,500 this week, or better yet, instead of making $3,000 this month, just give me $1,000. You know, I'm just gonna pay you $1,000. You probably wouldn't be at that job very long. So the bottom line is, there are realtors out there that will do this, but for the most part, you got to ask yourself the question: what kind of work are they going to do for you if they've been discounted? Not a good job. So it's best to keep it in place, especially because in my next video, I'll show you how you can use commissions to make more money. So the bottom line is, if you're looking at all this, there's two things I want to make you realize. Is number one is that for sale by owner, you have two kinds of for sale by owners. You have the kind that are willing to pay that 3% commission to the buyer's agent, and you have for sale by owners that are not willing to pay a 3% commission to the buyer's agent. Guess what, guys? Those for sale by owners that are not willing to pay a 3% commission, they don't ever get shown by realtors. Because basically what you're saying is, I'm going to get my buyer in a house and I'm not going to get paid. Or even worse, since they have buyer representation agreements signed with the buyers, that the buyer is now going to pay that 3%. Well, the buyer is not going to want to buy that house if they have to pay a 3% commission, because they can go buy an MLS listed property where that commission's coming out of the 6% from a seller. So the buyer is going to migrate to an MLS listed property anyway. And this is why for sale by owner properties sell for so much less than properties listed with real estate agents. So as you look at this, the bottom line is, as we're looking at commissions, we're talking about the for sale by owner. Two things about it was that the fact that if you're a for sale owner, you want to make sure you're paying that 3%. That way, at least you can get some realtors coming in and showing your property too, since they're the ones working with 90% of the buyers. Otherwise, you're left to 10% of the buyers to buy your property. 90% of the realtors out there, or the buyers out there, have a realtor. Why? Because it's free. Okay. Secondly, if you're a discount broker and you're only paying, if I'm cruising around with my buyers, I'm going to tell them this is for sale by owner. I'm going to tell them this is a discount broker. And the first thing that they're going to say to me is they're going to say, oh, well, they're paying less than commissions. We can talk them down. And this is why discount brokers, as well as for sale by owners, end up selling from anywhere from 10 to 24% less than your standard 6% MLS listed properties. 10 to 24%. So that being said, just to recap, the standard commission in this market is 3% and 3% for the buyer and the seller agent. Okay, that's 6% total charged to the seller at closing. That is a typical transaction. So I can show you how to pay 6%, even 7%, and get you more money than you would get paying less commissions. Because the bottom line is, I'll leave you with this. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you pay in commissions. It matters how much are you walking away with at the closing table. That's the most important part. So let me ask you a question. Would you want to pay a 4% commission and walk away with $225? Or would you want to pay a 6% commission and walk away with $255 in this transaction? At the end of the day, obviously, whichever one is going to make you the most money, that's the one you're going to go with, right? So what we teach is how to use commissions to entice a buyer and entice a good buyer. Now, let me ask you one more question. If I listed the home at 6%, 3% commission, 4% and 3% commission, any buyer's agent, would they be deterred from showing that property? No, because they're going to get their 3%. If I listed this property at 7% and I gave 4% to the buyer and 3% to myself for listing it, how many buyer's agents do you think will come show that property? How many of you think that property will get added to the list? It will. The question is, can you bring enough buyers into the property, get enough offers on the property to drive it up to fair market value or above fair market value versus 10 to 24% less when you're going discount, when you're going for sale by owner? And not only this, but it's taking longer to sell the house. So the longer it takes to sell the house, time is money. My name is Mark Linder with the 1-8 Real Estate Group. I hope this helps you understand commissions, how to use commissions to your favor, and how to plan for how commissions work in the system to bring the buyer to you, and why it's important to use a real estate professional that's been doing this for a while, that knows how to spend money to make money. My name is Mark Linder, broker for the 1-8 Real Estate Group. I'd love to help you buy or sell on your next purchase. Signing out. Have a good one. Take care.